Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. I'm very excited to share what's new in this version. My name is Guido, and for those who don't know me, I'm a consultant. I do trainings for customers. So if you ever sign up for a training, we're going to have a session together. So we'll work together. And if you email support@flex.bi, there's a chance that I will be the person who will be responding and helping you out. This is today's agenda. So first we'll talk about sharing measures. So what is this? Why is this useful? We'll talk about custom fields, which is a feature that makes flex.bi more flexible, so to say. We'll talk about imports, import consistency, and I'll also explain you an option that can be used for customers with large amounts of data for better optimizing the report execution. And at the end, I'll show you a little overview of documentation changes. Some of you probably noticed already that there has been a lot of changes there. Some of the links are gone. So we'll go through and I'll give you some, show you some sections that I think are worth reading through. This webinar is recorded, and you will get an email with a recording, so you can also watch it later or reference back to it. And if you have any questions during the webinar, there's a comments section below the Zoom. You can comment there, and I'll try to answer your questions during the webinar or at the end, but whichever you prefer. So sharing measures. So let's start with the report examples. So give you to illustrate how this would work. So let's say I have a report here that shows me my sales data over the last 12 months, and then I have this forecast at the end so that I can know, kind of predict how the end of the month should be looking. And this is calculated based on the average daily sales. So if there has been 10 days, we have sold in 10 days this much, then on average we daily sell this much, and there are 5 days more left, so we multiply it by 5 basically. And that's how we can get the forecast. But what if some of your customers want you to send an invoice just the end of the month, right? Then those are not invoiced yet, but they need to be included in the forecast because there will be invoiced at the end of the month, right? And so how do you go about this? So I have here a simple demonstration account where I have just one invoices cube imported. And if I know something about report creation, I can go in and look for what I need here, which is not invoiced some kind of amount, right? But if I go through here, I can see only some kind of invoice measures, invoice item measures, some properties, analytics. So there's nothing regarding sales orders. So how can I get sales orders in here? So you need two things to make this happen. One is that you need to import sales order data in flex.bi, right? So if I go back here to analyze section, I'll see I only have invoices data. I specified this in imports. So first I need to also import sales orders, right? After I have imported sales orders, I will have more measures available, meaning that if I go to analyze, more cubes available. So if I go to analyze, here I am in another account. Let's imagine this is the future and I have done this already. I have imported multiple cubes and I have sales order data, right? So I can go into this sales orders data cube, which is everything related to sales orders. I can click on measures and I can find here, for example, not invoice gross profit, right? So this is the not invoiced amount. So this is step one, getting the data in flex.bi. But the step 2 is then combining together invoices and sales orders data in one report, because I'm right now in sales orders cube, but this report is based on invoices, right? So we need to combine them. So this is where shared measures come in play, because in this new account, I imported sales orders, and these sales orders are automatically now available also in my invoices queue. As you can see here, the list is much, much larger than we were looking at previously, where we only had just a little bit of section of measures. And in this huge list, I can find sales order measures, and I can find the not invoice gross profit base amount based on sales orders. So I can combine this. And in the previous version, what we did is, so this would be the end result, where I could have the same sales, and on top of that, I could have a section that shows me what was the amount, what was the not invoiced amount, so that I can get better prediction. And in the latest version, we shared a bunch of more measures into invoices cube. So if you ever want to combine measures, this is just like a recommendation. I would recommend using always invoices data cube, but because this in experience, this is the place where everything has came together, right? Some of the cubes will not have this available, but invoices is the one where, yeah, let's just share it to invoices, and if you need to create some reports, you can find everything shared here. And we'll go back to the sharing topic in the next section as well in the presentation. Like we'll come back to that. That's why I explain it in detail. Yeah, so sharing measures, you have to import the data, and then we share some of them. And we usually share those measures that we think that other people want to use as well, or because we do it usually on customer requests or customer needs basis, and maybe think, okay, this is something that multiple customers have asked, we're going to share that for everyone, so that you come in, this is something available for you as well. Okay, and moving on to the next topic, which is custom fields. So we just took a look at the report. We found these two measures, which is not invoice gross profit. There's a measure that's about item base amount or turnover, so to say. But let's imagine a scenario where I have this item statistics report. I imported this from templates library, and I'm looking through it. It's okay. This is something I need. I can filter by customers. I can filter by persons. I can select some other probably, but select the month, and I can see everything about invoice. And this is great. Oh, this is useful, but there's something missing. In my Hansa world or standard ERP, I am using departments. I specify department for each item, and I want to see that in flex.bi as well. So if you're again, what you can do, okay, yeah, I'll just add this dimension. In theory, this is simple. You just find the dimension and just drag it in, right? But if I take a look at here, there are no departments here. Okay, so okay, there are no departments by default. Maybe there's some additional dimensions here. I go through it. There are no departments here as well. But I want to see my items by departments. What do I do here? Since this is kind of a niche functionality, in meaning that we have one customer that uses this, and in our experience, we haven't heard anything else for anyone else using this. This is something we probably will not add for everyone in like standard setup, but there is an option for these customers to import this. This has been added already a couple of versions previously. We just updated this, but how it works is that here I have another account where I have this set up, and if I go into this account, then there's going to be, I will open up all the dimensions, and I will find this custom fields section, which will have item department. And this is something I set up. I said, okay, during import from Hansa World, we take this field, we're going to import it as a dimension. Right? And I can now put it in and see the same results by different departments. And this is just, and you can do this with basically any field from all of the available dimensions or registers. You can specify and import something more. And this is also good for HAL. For example, some customers use HAL programming to add some extra functionality to Hansa World, and those can be imported as well. Right, so it's also good for those cases. And very similar, as I just created a dimension, there's also an option to create measures from this. Right, so there's a freight cost for purchase orders or shipping costs that I need to pay. Maybe I don't want to see only the base amount, but I also want to see together the cost of shipping, and I can have that by making a custom field or specifying a custom field that I want to import like this, and I can have this on the report. And the cool part is that, or the newest addition in this version, is that you can also share these new measures to different cubes. So I'm right now in purchase orders data cube, or a place where everything is related to purchase orders, and I can see the same custom imported measures into invoices cube. For example, here, purchase orders freight. So this is the same number, but just taken from purchase orders. So you can add numbers and then put it in different data cubes. So there are a lot of options that you can do with this. So how this is done is, if I go to this now, my import section, I'm gonna import the edit the Hansa World application, and then in the next step, just in a second, I can go to this advanced settings section, and this is available for business accounts. So this is not available for standard account, as a side note. And this is where I have specified. It's a little bit more advanced. So if you need help with this, you can email us, support@flex.bi, and we will help you with this. But just to give you a general idea, and there's a documentation as well. It's called Advanced Settings for Custom Fields. You need to specify from what register this is coming from, what is the field name. Then you can specify what's going to be the name of your field, in what cube do you want to see. You need to specify what kind of data type is decimal, string, or integer. Then you need to specify some additional options so that we can recognize what exact field you want. And then you can say, oh, I want this as a measure, or I want to have this as a dimension. And you can also optionally share this in a different cube. Right? So this is kind of how it works. So if you need any help with this, please let us know. Okay, so this is about custom fields. Now sharing is available, and we also made some changes to, or we made it more customizable. We added more options to customize imports, basically. So I've made this like a visual representation of how the imports work, and let's just go through it, through all the concepts, and I'll explain what has changed in the new X version. So first of all, when you import, when the first time you import your data in flex.bi, you need to specify when do you want to start the import from. So maybe you want to start with the first day that the data started in your Hansa World, which is fine. Maybe you're just interested in that, for example, last 3 years. You don't need all the historical data, which that is fine as well. But something to keep in mind is that, for example, on cloud, the data does take up space, and we charge for space depending on your account. So maybe if you're running out of space on your account, you can lower the values. And it's also it's especially good to know this on private servers or flex.bi enterprise, because then it also affects how long the imports work. In some rare cases, the imports also lower the performance on your Underworld or standard TP server. Sometimes the imports run too long, and the imports become less frequent. There are some multiple cases or some niche cases where this can be useful, where you could lower the, for example, start import from parameter. So maybe you want only for 2019. Right? So this is the first parameter. When do you start import? Then for the vast majority of accounts, this is enabled by default. You set up account, you will have incremental import. Works incremental import. So the first import runs, it imports all the data, and then incremental import starts, meaning the incremental import will start pick only the changes that have been made. So if you're importing invoices and you change an item in an invoice or change salesperson, the incremental import is going to recognize this and it's going to, oh, there has been changes made to this invoice. Let's take it in and update these changes in flex.bi as well. So that's how incremental import. So it only picks those things that have changed. Now, for some cases, the incremental import doesn't work. Historically, it wasn't available at all. That we used refresh period for that. And right now, there are two registers, which is transactions and item history, that don't have this incremental import enabled in Underworld by default. Meaning, in order to have incremental import for transactions and item history, you need to change some code in Underworld and then export and import the whole database. Only then you have incremental import available for those two registers. So that's the situation. And some customers, Experian have done this already. But if you haven't done it, then you will have to use refresh period, meaning that you can specify how many days, what kind of length of period you would like to re-import. For example, if you know that you're not going to change anything past 90 days, you can just re-import the last 90 days, and flex.bi is just going to take every single invoice from 90 days ago all the way today, up to today, and just to re-import everything. Delete and update, delete and update, delete, update, right? And it's going to go through all of that. So that is a refresh period. And naturally, something like financials cube or transactions, you have this might have this value up to 1 year. Some customers make changes at the beginning of the year, something. Maybe if it's item history, you would like to have that be just the last couple of days, because item history doesn't really change that much. And this is kind of what the newest version allows you to do. It allows you to customize these parameters for every register. So previously, if you specified once start import from parameter, it's everything started from that period. But now you can say, oh, I want to start invoices from 2020. I want to start transactions from 2018, and item history, or let's do item history. I want to see everything. Let's start with 2016, right? So you can specify for every single register, for every transaction or register, what's the period you would like to re-import, right? And the same goes for the refresh period. You can say this one re-import bigger amount, this one smaller amount, and it also works for regular import frequency. Okay, and how regular import frequency works is that you can specify how often the import should be run. So every 20 minutes, the import starts automatically, or every 40 minutes, every hour, 3 hours, 6 hours, or maybe you just want to have it daily at specified time. And the frequency is also, there are different frequencies available for different plans as well. So business will have more frequent. And this also can be customized for each register. We can say that for items, because items, we don't really update items that often. For items, you're gonna update those items every 10 imports. So every 10 times you're gonna skip it, and on 10th time, okay, we're gonna re-import the items as well. So that's kind of how the imports work. And another option, and in some cases, like shown here, it makes sense to use files though, because we have, in our experience, just to give you another option here, how to handle this. In our experience, there are some customers that have a lot of data that takes more than a day to re-import, or maybe it's one of those rare cases where the flex.bi import does affect Hello World performance. So it sometimes happens. In those cases, it's a good idea just to import the data with files, because while importing data through REST API, we need to get this one by one through internet connection, and it's kind of slow. It's slower. If we get files, we upload it. flex.bi needs to just do the process of re-importing. It doesn't need to connect to the server, get requests, and all the things. So it's much faster to import through files. So maybe you have some historical data. You want to. It's a good idea. Then it's a good idea to combine in these kind of scenarios. Combine. You import the older data with files, and then you set a start import from, let's say, 2020. So the REST API import starts from 2020, all the way up to today. But the older data was imported through files. So there's an option for that as well. And these are the parameters. So this, if you would like to customize any of these parameters, if you are on cloud, please email us. This is something only we can do for your account, because this is, we need to put this in advanced place, basically. For enterprise customers, please use these parameters in your account parameter section. There's a section basically available for system administrators for account. We can just customize the account in multiple ways, right? So these are the parameters that have to be used here, where the start is just a register code like this, and then you specify refresh days 30, skip import code 2, or when do we start the import for this register. Regular import consistency. So this is also more targeted towards the account, so to say, the people who manage accounts. Because if you haven't seen this email, this is not something for you. But just to give you an idea how this works, and we as support of flex.bi, we do sometimes get these emails, and we resolve these issues in the background. So there is some kind of work done, if you haven't noticed. But if you're receiving these emails yourself, first of all, it means that you are the owner of the account. So you can set up for account one person who will receive notifications when the imports stop for the account, right? So if you get these emails, you are responsible for going back to the account and then rerunning the import or fixing whatever the reason was that the import stopped. And in the previous versions, this was one of some kind of like a common error that people got. And we did implement, just to give you an example, we did implement already a parameter that we can set up. Please let us know if you need this as well. And with this parameter, you can specify how many times should the import retry to import. And this unauthorized error usually happened when customers were using concurrent users for import. And then when all the slots were full for concurrent users, flex.bi couldn't log in. the same thing goes for you when you log into Hansa. It says, oh, there are no user slots available or something like that. Actually don't know how it's called, but I hope you get the idea. And then you have to kick someone out, basically. So flex.bi doesn't kick anyone out. It just says, okay, the Hansa server didn't let me in. Right? Please do something about it. And now, in the previous versions, we made an update to that. So you can, flex.bi waits 10 minutes and then tries again, waits 10 minutes, tries again, and waits 10 minutes and then tries again. And you can customize this. Please let us know if you need to customize that. And there was another, a little bit different error that we made customizable for specifically enterprise users, because this is a server level configuration where sometimes the Hansa servers have, for example, maintenances happening during the night, and those maintenances can be very long. And in these cases, flex.bi imports tries 10 times every 10 minutes. So basically 2 hours it tries, and it's not available, done, right? But if you know that the maintenance runs longer than that every time, you can prevent this by saying flex.bi, you know what, try a little bit more, like 10 is enough, try 20 times or try 30 times, or whatever your number is, right? So flex.bi will retry every 10 minutes for a longer period of time. So you can make sure that you don't have to come back and like set up, renew the import manually every time. And like I mentioned, this is available for enterprise customers, right? So if you get this error, you can customize this. You can email us as well. And also, we made another option for customers that have large amounts of data for making their report execution better. So how this works right now for most of the accounts is that underneath all the interface, everything, there's a database, right? So this database is either MySQL, Postgres, Microsoft SQL, or Oracle, right? These are the databases we support. And this database handles everything from imports, sessions, handles your application setup, and so on, right? But now in the latest version, there is an option to use like a separate database for report execution. Okay, so everything else is still going to be handled in the previous database, but there's going to be another database that will handle all the report execution. And I just want to make it clear that if you have a specific report that doesn't run in time and you're like, oh, will this help? No, this will not help. This is specifically made for customers that have basically all the reports are slow. So if you make a simple report, it requires you 60 seconds, 40 seconds. It doesn't have anything complicated. And you have like gigabytes of data in one data cube, then this is something you might look into or might be interested to looking at, because this is the solution for those kind of customers that have everything run slowly. And the solution is kind of a different, in the separate database, these customers can use a Snowflake architecture database, which is one of them is, for example, Vertica, right? And this works because the database is set up or just works in a different way. So it's kind of like underneath everything is different architecture, and it is designed for large amounts of data. It is specifically designed for that. And how it works and how it would work together would be that in the previous, there will be two databases for these customers, where one of them would be everything else. It would run as usual. It will run imports, sessions, and so on. Then after import is done, there's going to be a process that will copy incrementally also all the data up to the new database. And when you run your reports, the report execution is going to be run on that new database, right? So it's going to be on a different architecture, and it's going to work faster. And we have gotten some good results from customers already, where their reports were just not running in time, took 60 seconds after this fix. We reduced the report execution time significantly. Okay, so and we haven't really found a limit for this yet. So there's this database, we haven't really tested it to limits. So if you have some kind of customer like that, there are options for that as well now. And as the last topic, we did, maybe some of you have noticed already, that we updated or actually reworked a lot of the documentation here. So if you have any bookmarks on the documentation tab, I'm sorry, but you will need to update those bookmarks based on the new ones, because the page IDs have changed. But there are some, I'm kind of happy about the new documentation, to be honest, myself personally. And I think there are some good changes or some useful sections that you might want to read through if you want to get more familiar with flex.bi. So let's just go. I'll show you some examples of what has been changed and how it's structured now. And as kind of previously already, it starts with just getting started page, where it shows you the process, where it starts from importing data, creating reports, and then publishing them, right? And explains you every step. Then there's a documentation that covers the main concepts, like what is a dimension, what is a measure, how data cubes in general works, what's the idea behind them. Then there's a section for setting up and administering your account, where there's information about subscription, how this works. There's a page for account users, so you can see what kind of users can you set up for your account, what does each role mean. And in addition to that, there is a section about data access roles, where there's explained you step by step how you can set up data access roles to limit even more specifically the access rights for users. There is a section about data imports, where you can find all different types of ways how you can import data in flex.bi. For example, how do you import from Excel or CSV, Google Sheets, Hansworld REST API import. You can import from just regular REST API, SQL. You can import Jira data, tilde, Sumis, and so on. Then there's whole other section about analyzing and visualizing, where there's also step by step explained and marked everything you can do when creating reports, everything you can do when creating charts. There's a whole section about calculated members that has been rewritten, which answers multiple different questions. So starting from what is MDX, what you should know, going into the specifics about calculated measures. So what is calculated measure? Then specifically even creating calculated members in time dimension. So basically making time members like current month, last month, and so on. Then making groups of members, like you want to sales, maybe you want a specific accounts group. So there's going to be information about that here. And if you want to get even more advanced, there's best practices for report creation. If you have some reports that are running slowly or getting some unexpected results, some errors, you can check this out. And there are some niche documentation pages, for example, options in conditional formatting. You can, and then there's options about then there's documentation page about dashboard creation as well, where it's also explained how to create dashboards, marked all the options, explain them. There's some niche pages, And then there's a page about webinars and recording videos where you'll be able to find a webinar like this one, a page about becoming partners, troubleshooting, how-to pages. So these are still up. We're still working on them, trying to get more and more into them. There's a documentation page about our services, what's available, how does these work. And then there's a page for flex.bi enterprise users, basically users that have their own private servers and how to manage that. Because I mean, it does require more work to manage your own server. And then there's information on that as well. So I went over all the changes in the latest version. Hope this was useful for you. You learned something, and maybe you found something useful for yourself. I guess that's it for me. Thank you everyone for joining, and then hope to see you next time as well. Bye bye.